After a run of games against League One teams, happy to stop Kieran McKenna's ITFC from playing. Will the Tractor Boys finally come up against a side actually willing to play us? We'll soon find out. This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing the town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward and you're tuned into the Prematch show in partnership with our friends at the Greyhound Pub in Ipswich. This is the Oxford away edition, and joining me as always to give you the inside track on the big game at the weekend, my good friend Seb Brown. Seb, how are you?
Hello, mate. I'm good, thank you. I'm very much looking forward to two huge games at the weekend for obviously the men's team at Oxford on the Saturday, and then the women on against West Ham in the FA Cup on the Red Button on Sunday for me, because obviously I can't get there, but I'm sure like many people I'll be tuning in on the Red Button at 12:30.
Yeah, it's worth. Our intro has been dominated for obvious reasons for the men's game, which obviously comes up first. But yeah, we will be talking about West Ham. Worth at this stage as well publicising the interview that we did with 5 members of the ITFC women's squad, 2 of whom sponsored by Blue Monday podcast and our friends, Abby Lafayette and Lucy O'Brien, but also great to speak to Eloise King and Anna Gray and Maddie Biggs as well, all goal scorers there. So, but yeah, big excitement. And yeah, obviously this game against Oxford's a real fascinating one. We are later recording than we usually are because the pair of us have been trying to find the angles on Oxford. Let's see how
they're really good at football, and they score lots of goals. So This was the Blue Monday pre-match show. Thanks for watching.
yeah. Goodbye, everyone. No, I'm joking. So we'll drill into Oxford. We'll try and find the weaknesses. We'll at least clue you in to how they play, key personnel, and any of the facts and figures that we can dig out as usual. But let's start with talking about the West Ham game, shall we? And yeah, as Seb said, BBC Red Button, a 2,000 capacity sellout at the Gold Star Ground Sunday at 12:30. Really exciting. There's definitely a buzz around the place. Players, as per our interview, still available on our podcast and video feed. All really up for this, all really excited, really interesting to test the team against WSL opposition. And yeah, in terms of ITFC, I guess in terms of team news, Livia Smith missed out against Cardiff. Not sure really what the story is there, but if she returns, then maybe she returns at centre back and Abby Lafayette moves out to the left, with possibly Eva Hubbard dropping to the bench. But otherwise, it's a fully fit squad at the moment. Injuries being quite kind. The team, as we mentioned on this interview, on the back of a 3-game winning run, and no taking their feet off the pedals, no one stepping away from tackles or keeping themselves out of potential injuries because of this West Ham game. So really fortunate that everyone hopefully is going to be fit. In terms of West Ham, Seb, obviously it's the men's team. We know all about them, and it's affiliated to them. And in the WSL, they're very much mid-table. 17 matches played, 6 wins, 6 draws, 5 defeats. Last time out, an injury time, a 93rd minute equaliser against Man United, which I guess is a good result. But ITFC women haven't played this week. West Ham have. Quite an arduous game, I would expect. And this is a team that isn't afraid to get stuck in either 24 yellow cards is the second worst disciplinary record in the league. 2 red cards is the worst. So no surprise. This feels like kind of Seb, like that West Ham team of old who were just a bit rough.
The 90s side with Julian Dix, etc. It's a great occasion, isn't it, for the ladies? I listened to your podcast. I must tell everyone, get onto YouTube and make sure you listen to the interview, because it is brilliant the way you've got the five ladies on there, and the Q&A questions were great. And if anything, just watch it to make yourself sound old when they're listening to the music, where they're listening to the songs they play pre-match. But no, it's a great listen, and really interesting that that they wanted, I guess, Coventry as a realistic option of probably going through to the semi-finals. But what a great test against West Ham. A mid-table WSL side. It's going to be a great occasion. It's a complete sellout, isn't it, at the ground, and there'll be loads more of us watching on the BBC Red Button. So a fantastic occasion. Let's hope the Gold Stars a bit of a leveller. They play at Grays Athletic, don't they, the West Ham ladies?
I think they play at Dagenham as well.
Okay.
I announced that, and then yesterday I think they were playing at Dagenham.
But hopefully that the Gold Star will be a
London.
great leveller, and get yourselves down there, make lots of noise. You discussed on your chat with them about the atmosphere for the Southampton game, so let's really look to crank that up a level. Loads of us watching on the Red Button, and all the best, because what a fantastic occasion.
It is. And just very briefly, in terms of the pedigree, it's very easy to look at West Ham as a WSL team in mid-table, and we know about the big teams in that division, the Chelseas, the Man Cities, the Man Uniteds, the Arsenals. West Ham have got the pedigree as well. A key player, Dagny Brynistota, has got 4 goals in number 10. She's an Icelandic international, played in America, a really cultured player, really excellent career. But there's internationals in Mackenzie Arnold in goal, Hawa Sissoko in defence, Katarina Svitkova in midfield. Lisa Evans is a Scottish international. They've got Champions League experience in Emma Snurl and Kate Longhurst, and all of these names were, I think, pretty much all in the squad. Most of them played, actually. A few off the bench or on the subs bench. It'll be interesting, Seb, to see how serious West Ham take this, won't they? And whether they will rotate.
Yeah, but if they're mid-table in the WSL, then you'd think they're going to give it a really good go, aren't they? Surely they'll be looking to put out the first team, and I guess in their eyes, they'll see it. It should, in theory, for them be a relatively straightforward, comfortable win. But as we all know, with cup games, that's never the case. I think they'll go full strength, but I've got a really good feeling about this one.
There you go. I'll clip that one.
Then I was positive last week before Portsmouth wasn't I? So yeah, maybe I got it the wrong week. Maybe this week is the true positive week. I think they'll give them a really good game. I think they will.
I think so too. And as you say, the Gold Star, a bit of a leveler, and 2,000 town fans as well. So yeah, come on, you Blues. We are fully behind you. And as we said on that interview, the season doesn't finish with West Ham. It would be great to get a semi-final. I mean, amazing to get that semi-final. But the team have now got, after that Cardiff win, defeat for Oxford, draw for Southampton, it's really opened up with Southampton's games in hand now, meaning that even if they won them all, if Town defeated them at the Gold Star at the start of April, they'd still be ahead of them in the league. So lots to play for, and lots more exciting to come. Let's talk about Oxford, Seb. And we may as well jump. We're going to have to deal with it, aren't we?
Really good at football, let's be honest. They're an incredibly good side. I was doing my research yesterday, trying to find chinks in their armour and stuff, and there isn't much. They are a very, very consistent side at this level. We've been down here now for 3 years. We've played a number of games against them, not high-scoring games, as I'm sure we'll come on to, but every year they tend to finish in the playoffs. I think that they lose in the finals last year, in the semi-finals a couple of years before, so they are a very, very well-drilled side at this level. They remind me of us in the late 90s, under Burley, scoring loads of goals, consistent, always up there, looking to sort of move on and improve year on year with some clever transfers, and they're just a really good model for a side at this level.
Tell us where they are in the league and the record for all it's worth.
So sitting fourth in the league as it stands at the moment with 68 points, played 38 games, won 20, drawn 8, lost 10, scored 73 goals, which is the highest in the league. Sunderland are the next closest on 66, I think it is. So they are out and away as the leading to scorers in the division. Conceded 48 goals. So they do concede a few, so potentially a little glimmer there. Only 3 home defeats in the league against Plymouth, Wigan and Bolton. And all 3 of those sides had to score 3 goals to beat them. And like Portsmouth last week, they are on a good run of form. They've won 6 out of their last 7, and they've scored 17 goals in that time. So they are absolutely flying at the moment.
Yeah, worth mentioning last match though, which wasn't it was an away game. I think it's definitely the away form isn't as good as the home form, which isn't a surprise really. But I'm looking. I was watching the highlights, and I thought Shrewsbury were pretty unfortunate to end up drawing this one. There's a big chance at 2-1, at 1-1, sorry, where Bowman skies over the bar from close in, really close in cross. And to me, if we're trying to find weaknesses here, the threat that Shrewsbury had in that game came from crosses. So we need a fit Wes Burns crossing into that box. They were not well defended, but Seb, it's the usual suspects who are scoring the goals to win them the match overall.
Yeah, Matty Taylor, their leading scorer. I think he's second in the division behind, or maybe third behind Ross Stewart and Cole Stockton. He opened the scoring on 11 minutes, and then Cameron Brannigan, he of the 4-5 penalties, was it against Gillingham? 4 penalties, I think it was, wasn't it, a few weeks ago? Won it with a late-on penalty. It's worth saying, we'll come on to discuss their side, but for the last couple of weeks, they've been really, really ripped apart with injuries and COVID. So they've got players playing out of position and players who've barely featured this season having to do jobs when they should really be looking to ease back into the side. So although it was a bit of a hard-fought victory against Shrewsbury, there are mitigating factors for that, with certainly two of the back three. One's a left back playing out of position, and the other one was the club captain making his first appearance of the season. So they are decimated at the moment with injuries, and I'm assuming some of the COVID cases might start to drop away and they might start to come back in this coming weekend. But they've got a lot of injuries as it stands at the moment.
Yeah, well, that sounds very similar to Portsmouth last week, doesn't it? And as I mentioned right at the start, we'll have a discussion once we've gone through the system, the personnel, and all the other stats about how we think Oxford are going to approach this one. We didn't really deal with how we thought Portsmouth might take the game. I don't know about you, Seb. I was massively surprised by how happy Portsmouth were to shut the game down, particularly second half, and get their point.
Yeah, I was, but we didn't see that all game, did we? We saw that in the second half only. So was it a case that after half time they couldn't deal with the high tempo start we made after half time, and straight away they wrapped it up? The first half I thought was fairly even, but we didn't really mention the dark arts and S-housery on the live show last week, did we? Because I don't think neither of us were really, really expecting it, because it wasn't something that stood out in all the research that we did. But I guess that shows where we are now. We are a side that teams know will like to keep the ball and create opportunities and look to play on the front foot and attack. And I guess we need to get more and more used to that, because especially if we're going to stay down, which, let's be honest, is looking likely now, a lot of sides are going to come to Portman Road next year and set up that way to frustrate us. And I guess McKenna and the coaching staff have to find a way to break those teams down.
Yeah, I think it's about early goals, isn't it? If your team is worked all week in setting up to stop us play, and then Ipswich score within the first 5 minutes, the plan's out the window, isn't it? But Oxford, as much as we've given them lots of praise in the brief time we've talked about them so far, the game of Portman Road said remind us of that. They were doing the dark arts. Keeper was down with cramp. Lots of players doing the old cramp. Oh, I'm injured.
Lots that went on, and that went on all game. Whereas Portsmouth last week started it in the second half. Oxford seemed to be doing it all game. It was mid-November, so I think we were on an okay run of form. I think it was in the middle of a couple of cup ties, if I remember rightly. And I guess we were really looking to sort of beat one of the bigger boys and look to push on. But it was a 0-0 draw, as it tends to be between us and Oxford since we've come down. We've played 5 games so far against them. Only 1 goal has been scored between the two sides. That was 2 years ago, probably this week or next week, just before the first lockdown kicked in. Other than that, it always seems to be a 0-0 draw, and that was the case in November. I don't remember much about the game. I didn't go, but I can't remember anything standing out from the game. I think they just frustrated us, and we could simply not find a way to break them down. Was it when Wes Burns was out of the team? Was it that?
Possibly, yeah, that rings a bell. I think there were some long-range efforts for both teams. The most clear-cut chance was Bailey Clements was in the team at left back. I think he may have made his league debut and had kind of got into a good position and crossed when he could have shot, and the cross ended up, down the corridor of uncertainty, but no Town player on the end of it. So I think there was maybe some questionable penalty shouts, I think, if I recall as well, but certainly Oxford came for the point and got one. But it'll be interesting to see if that same mindset continues for when they're at home. In terms of the overall record, Seb, you talked about the League One contests being pretty goal shy. We've obviously not played a huge amount against Oxford over the years, but it's not. I mean, it's not a happy hunting ground for us, is it?
It's not. No, we were chatting in the green room, weren't we, about the head-to-head before we started the pod. And we can't find a league win at Oxford, either at the Manor Ground or the Kassam or anything. There's a few draws in there. There's a 3-3 from the 98-99 season, which neither of us can remember at all. We seem to be okay at Portman Road against them back in the day in the late 90s and stuff. The overall record is 10 wins for Ipswich, 6 wins for Oxford, and 9 draws. 3 of which have come since four of which have come since we've been relegated down into League One. But it doesn't appear to be an overly happy hunting ground for us, does it?
No, last win of any kind, as we say, if we've missed something and there is a league win in there, do let us know. But otherwise, it's cup wins. There was a League Cup win in 97-98. There's a win in the Simod Cup, Seb, in 89-90. That used to be called the Full Members Cup, and I have no idea what it's about.
We need just Craig or Dave on it for that one, don't we?
Abolished in 1992, but no league wins as far as we can tell. In terms of their running it, we're at the kind of the starting to get towards the business end of the season, so interesting to see what these teams have got, particularly teams who've got stuff to play for, which Oxford certainly have. I guess the question for them is not about will they finish in the playoffs, because that seems inevitable. It's can they do anything more? And there's some tough games in there, Seb.
Yeah, they're running. I looked at their running, and it's kind of half and half. It's half games which you would expect them to win fairly easily, and then half sort of quite tough games on the horizon. They've got obviously us on the weekend. They've got Plymouth in a couple of weeks' time away, Sunderland at home, MK Dons at home, and Rotherham away. So they've still got, including us, 5 big teams to play between now and the end of the season. But then equally, the games that they should be expected to win, the remaining games in the running, are the likes of Fleetwood and Doncaster and Morecambe. So you'd expect them to sort of batter those little sides a little bit, and hopefully look to take some points off. I guess Sunderland we're looking to kind of chase down. Obviously Rotherham and MK Dons are gone, but this is an example again of where a lot of the top 6, top 8 are going to be playing each other. So it's a good chance for us to hopefully, if we can do our business on the pitch each weekend, hopefully these sides will start to take points of each other, and maybe we can just squeeze in there.
Do we want Oxford to be winning these matches? I think we probably
Yes, we can't catch Oxford, can we? Yeah. No, we need them to beat the likes of Plymouth and Sunderland, especially. Rotherham's not going to make a difference. MK Dons isn't going to make a difference. But if they can beat Plymouth and Sunderland on back-to-back weekends, and we can win our games those weekends against presumably Cambridge and somebody else, then we could hopefully start to claw back a little bit of ground.
And worth noting, those home defeats that we talked about for Oxford have come against Plymouth, Wigan, and Bolton, teams who are in form. So it'll be interesting to see how they do against those. Let's talk very briefly about the boss, Carl Robinson, who I've rather harshly been badging as Streaky Carl for about 3 years. I guess I need to do away with that moniker. I know it's probably a bit harsh. But he has, as we kind of said, their steady progression year on year. It's a name that Ipswich fans will be familiar with, linked with us a few times, I think, in the certainly in just after the Mick era, I think, around that time maybe. But yeah, he's excited for the game, Seb. He's up for the contest, and I guess at this level, a very good manager.
He is, yeah. He signed a 4-year deal, I think. Was it the start of last season? A bit like Lambert did with his 5-year deal. And they went on a really bad run of form. I think they were bottom third of the table up until about sort of September, October last season, if I remember correctly, and then went on a brilliant run to move up. So he's been there since March 2018. As we said earlier, back-to-back playoff campaigns for the last 2 years, but never managed to get across the final hurdle. Best known for his time, obviously, at MK Dons. He took them into the championship. I remember a game against them with Brett Pittman scoring and stuff, and he got them to that level. He's managed 222 games for Oxford, won 103, drawn 47, lost 72, which is 1.6 points per game, which with some basic maths is probably just over 75 points across the season. So, doing what you need to do to kind of finish in the 5th or 6th places, not this year, but 5th or 6th places in a normal year in a playoff campaign.
Yeah, he's been very polite, talked about the Ipswich era of the 80s and all that kind of stuff. It's a good place to play and all that stuff. So saying all the right things. In terms of what to expect, let's jump in on this. The goals is the big stat here. As you've already said, top scorers in the league. 43 of their 73 goals are at home, unsurprisingly. A lot of goals from outside the area. Third most goals from outside the box, behind Wycombe and Rotherham. Actually, second highest on home goals from outside the box. Second most shots as well from outside the area. Doesn't come as much of a surprise. So this is a team who's not afraid to try their arm. There's a lot of efforts from goal inside the penalty area. It's not kind of too many 6-yard box tap-ins, quite a lot of 18-yard box goals. But yeah, they will have a shot from range, and they've got the players to do that. We'll talk about them shortly. But talk to us about these kind of goals in the 80th minute.
They keep going, don't they? That's the thing, they keep on going and going at side. So they've scored 16 goals after the 80th minute in matches so far this season, and 10 of those 16 have come since the turn of the year. So This is a side that just keeps on going and going and going. And I saw an interview with Robinson earlier where he was referencing the fact that Wickham won in the 94th minute, a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying they're the kind of goals that we need to make sure we're on the end of as well, because that's going to make the crucial difference come the end of the season. And they certainly seem to be a side that just goes and goes and goes at you. And we need to make sure that our fitness levels, our concentration levels are on it right to the end, because they won't stop until that whistle is blown.
And they're on. Well, if they maintain this record, there's a good chance they break a career.
It could be a record.
Club best,
yeah. So their record is 91 goals, which was done in the 83-84 side, the Jim Smith side. If they maintain their current 1.9 goals per game, they'll finish on 88. So they get very, very close to it. So I guess they'll be looking to create a new club record.
Yeah, that 7-2 at Gillingham has certainly helped get them there. And in terms of the style of play, it's short passing, isn't it? Average possession about 56%, which is in the it's in the top 6. Second highest to us on average home possession, 58.5%. Again, home and away team, as we said, and short passing makes that up. No real surprises there. Sebo's there, and but yeah, these defending stats give us some.
They do concede. Hope. Yeah, it's a bit of hope. They do concede. So 48 goals conceded. They've only kept 8 clean sheets so far in the league. So 38 games played and only 8 clean sheets. It's sort of 50-50 in terms of home and away. And they haven't kept a clean sheet at home at the Kassam in 2022. So, hopefully we will get chances. Hopefully we can take them. I guess when we're describing two similar short possession style sides, we kind of think, is it going to be like MK Dons where we're going to kind of cancel each other out? But hopefully that won't be the case, because, they kind of score goals for fun. We've got a very good defence, but they're not great at defending either. So hopefully it should be an entertaining one.
And it's definitely attacking through the central positions. They're definitely a through ball team. There's definitely a bit of pace up front, but they like to thread those passes through. So this is something we need to be alive to as well.
Very much so, yeah. They like to dominate in sort of the middle of the park and look to release people quickly. We'll come on to the formation shortly. There's been a formation change recently as a consequence of injuries and COVID and stuff, but primarily they were a 4-3-3 side for most of the season, and those 3 in the middle were really looking to launch the attacks for them.
And they've had players up front who have got the pace to be able to, it's one thing making that pass, it's another thing that player going through and finishing. We'll talk about Matty Taylor and what he likes to drop in, doesn't he? But even we'll talk about the January business very briefly, shall we? Because one signing it's a player that I quite like actually, but now who's injured but scored a few goals from those positions is Sam Baldock. Do you want to talk to us about him and the other players that were in and out in January?
Yeah, so it wasn't an overly busy January for them. They brought in Sam Baldock. His deal at Derby expired. He was on a short-term 6-month deal as part of the Derby squad. They released him and he's joined up there. He's injured now. I think he's got a knee or an ankle injury, so he won't feature on the weekend. Marcus Brown, another striker, joined from Middlesbrough. He had a couple of loan spells at Oxford and joined permanently. However, the poor guy he did his hamstring in his first game back from an ACL injury. So he's likely to be out as well and not feature. They brought in Kyron Brown from Cardiff on loan, a defender. Connell Truman from Birmingham on loan as well. And the only real departure of note was Dan Ajayi, who went to Crewe. Otherwise, they kind of kept the squad together and really looked to regroup and push on for the final 6 months of the season.
So we're kind of expecting this 3 at the back. I mean, this is the trend now. It's like John McGreal kind of started it. Kieran McKenna's made it even more so, but lots of teams just converting to this 3 at the back. But it feels, as you mentioned, largely it's been imposed upon them by absences, hasn't it?
Very much so, yeah. So a lot of this we'll go through now has the caveat of the fact we're recording on the Thursday, and if people have recovered from their COVID illnesses in the Oxford camp, it could well revert back to a 4-3-3. If we assume they're going to stick with the back three and match us up, then it's going to be Luke. Also, goalkeeper first. So Simon Eastwood made his first start in 2 months against Shrewsbury. He's only made 12 appearances so far this season. The regular number one, Jack Stevens, who's made 24 appearances, was out with COVID, so he might well come back in if he's fit to return. The back three, so this is what we were saying about the Tuesday night game with players out of position. So Luke McNally will be one of the centre halves. He'll play 22 appearances, 3 goals. John Messino is the club captain, but he's 35 now. He started at the centre of defence, and the game against Shrewsbury was his first game of the season. So in the interview today with the club
tell
side,
that.
They were saying, he's probably not going to be able to make 2 games in quick succession. And their left back, Steve Seddon, who's made 35 appearances, 2 goals and 6 assists. He's quite a good outlet for them down the left. He had to slot into the left centre back position because of the injuries that they've got. Those injuries are to Kyan Brown and to Sam Long. They're both established centre-back defenders and they can cover the right-back position, who both went down with COVID. So if we assume they're both going to come back in, I would assume Kyan Brown comes into the centre for John Messino, or they revert to a back 4 and Sam Long comes in a right-back.
Yeah, Elliot Moore is another name there, and I think his ankle injury, I think Oxford might be putting out kind of conflicting stories in case there's some possibility there, so he might be there too. But yeah, it'd be interesting. At the moment, we're kind of speculating, aren't we? Yeah. I wouldn't be massively surprised if they persist with the 3 at the back purely because it matches them up to us.
Yeah.
But as you say, it's a proven formula so far this season for them. So they'd be foolish to not do it if they had the personnel to revert back. Do you want to talk to us about in this 3/5 at the back system, the wide guys?
The wing backs, yeah. So player I really like, Mark Sykes, the wide boys. I really like Mark Sykes. He'll play in the right wing back role. Again, he's normally a much more advanced kind of player, a bit like Wes Burns, playing the right wing back role for us. 33 appearances, 8 goals and 4 assists. The heat map shows that he really likes to be forward. He normally plays more advanced, so he's doing a job there for them. And the left wing back will be Ryan Williams, 26 appearances, 2 goals and 4 assists, and he can cover on both flanks. A bit of a Kane Vincent Young. He can do a job on both sides if need be. But Mark Sykes is the one who's really he's really playing out of position at the moment.
We need to talk about Cameron Brannigan, get it done, don't we?
The star man, yeah. So Cameron Brannigan, obviously an absolutely key player. Came through at Liverpool, didn't he? The Liverpool Academy, I think it was.
Rings a bell, yeah. I think we might have mentioned that in the first show, yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously a very good, technical player if you come from that kind of level. 35 appearances, 13 goals. He is the penalty taker as of the 4 goals against Gillingham. 1 assist. He does like to drift left slightly and link up with, when Seddon was the left back, he likes to kind of drift up with him. Averages 2.7 shots per game and 1.4 key passes per game. So he's the man that is going to look to really, really make them tick. He has Herbie Kane alongside him, who does all the defensive screening, all the defensive jobs, and just says to Cameron Brannigan, you go and do your thing and don't worry about this. I'll sort of sweep up back here and look after the back. So he is the real danger man. We'll come on to Ipswich. Is Sam Morsey going to play? Is he going to last? Is he going to be at 100%? That central midfield battle on Saturday is going to be absolutely crucial in who comes out with this game, because if we give Brannigan time and space on the ball, he will really hurt us.
Worth mentioning, there's some key absentees in midfield, aren't there? James Henry is a name that I think we all know. Alex Gorin, we mentioned in the home pre-match show.
Yeah, he's back in. He's had an ACL since the start of November or late October. He's back in training on the grass this week, but they don't expect him to play this season at all. James Henry's been out for the last 3 weeks, and they've got Marcus McGrain and Billy Bodin, who are sort of bench options in the last couple of weeks. But I'd be amazed if it wasn't Cameron Brannigan and Herbie Kane as the 2 central midfielders.
Yeah, Bodin's kind of one-time Bristol Rovers striker, wasn't he? I think he's been moved into a more a deeper position there. Yeah. But I think he's made an impact from the bench. Nathan Holland is a name that I remember from our first show as well, on loan from West Ham. Talk to us about him.
Yeah, so primarily a left-sided attacker, left winger, left forward. He's sort of doing a job in the number 10 attacking role for them in the meantime with his formation switch. 29 appearances, 4 goals and 4 assists, and he's having to play more central, whereas naturally in the 4-3-3, he's kind of the wide left option to Mark Sykes' wide right option, either side of Matty Taylor, but he's doing a job in the number 10 role for them at the moment.
And you mentioned Matty Taylor. He's having a
Yeah,
great
he's
season too.
the main guy, isn't he? Yeah, 36 appearances, 19 goals. If you look at the heat map, he kind of likes to drop slightly deeper onto the right side of the advanced positions to try and link play with normally Sykes again on the right hand side, but he is the absolute key danger man. And then in the 3-5-2 they've been playing, Gavin White, who again is playing out of position, he's not a natural striker. He's playing alongside him, but again he's primarily a right forward, so he tends to drift out a little bit to the right hand side as well. He's made 29 appearances with 1 goal and 10 assists. But yeah, he's not a natural out-and-out striker because they've got the injuries. They've got, as we said, Marcus Brown, the guy from Middlesbrough, has been out for the last 5 weeks. Sam Baldock's out for weeks with an ankle injury, a knee injury. And they have got Sam Whittle, formerly Sheffield Wednesday. He's like a
big money at one point, wasn't he?
At one point, yeah, he's a kind of a bench option for them. But Matty Taylor is the main guy. It's all about him.
Yeah, it does feel like their attacking options do lend themselves better to that front three. But it's worth mentioning here as well that this key intangible that goes through this team is confidence. Brannigan, high on confidence. Sykes, high on confidence. Matty Taylor, high on confidence. Scored a really lovely goal against Burton. Kind of a cross came in and he volleyed it in the near post a few weeks back. Really, these are the kind of players that when they're high on confidence will try stuff, particularly these long shots. Brannigan, we know about that as well. So this is a factor. As much as the formation and the way that Robinson sets them up is important, these are just players who have got goals and assists in their games and are right now on great form as well. And stuff just happens, doesn't it? It's one of those things. Worth mentioning, we don't usually do this, but I thought I'd add some additional context into the mix. Who the referee is for the day, Mark Edwards, who has dished out 57 yellows and 2 reds in League One, League Two, and League Cup so far this season. Last time out, refereed Rotherham 1, MK Dons 2, and sent off MK's Dan Harvey. I think pretty much halfway through the first half. I think it was denying a goal scoring opportunity, shoved someone over for a penalty and got a straight red. But there you go. I have no angle on that one, but I thought we'll bring the information. Let's talk about Ipswich, Seb. We know we've kind of the agenda this week has been there's a lot of news that we want to give to the Flagship show team. More on that shortly. Stuff about buying space behind the South Stand and other announcements like that. So the guys will talk through that on the Flagship show. But we do know that Caden Jackson will be missing for the rest of the season now. So really sad news, and especially as he'd come into some form.
It's such a shame, isn't it? He was gone. They triggered the extension last summer. Everyone thought he was going to be out the door. He was nowhere near the Paul Cook side. He made the occasional appearance in the EFL trophy games and stuff, and he, by all accounts, worked really hard, got himself back into first team contention. McKenna clearly really, really likes him. He has something that the other strikers don't have, that raw, explosive pace, and it's such a shame for him because I think he probably would have featured in most of the games between now and the end of the season, because that running of the channels down the left-hand side was really, really proving successful, wasn't it? The cutbacks for the goals recently, and it's such a shame for him that I thought it was a shoulder injury on the weekend when he went down. That's the impression I got, but obviously it was his hamstring. We saw the picture where he slams his shirt to the floor out of pure frustration, and I guess there's a theory that might be his last appearance in a Town shirt. I think he's deserving of a new contract. I think he probably will get one, probably a year with a year option type deal, because McKenna clearly likes him, but not having him in that side and having that ability to press from the front is really going to hurt us for the last 8 games, I think.
Yeah, it's a shame, that one, particularly as
I don't know what he'll do
behind him aren't in particularly good form, are they?
Yeah, I don't know what he'll do. Part of me wouldn't be surprised if he does the pep and plays, the 3 behind and Sonny Aluko or something. I don't know what he'll do with this one because, as you said, Norwood, Bond, Piggott, none of them are in great form. None of them can really look to press from the front like Jackson can with his pace. So that's a really interesting one. I assume he'll go Macaulay Bond, I guess.
I was wondering that. We talked about the Oxford aren't great at defending from crosses from the wide positions, so maybe that's a strategy that Wes Burns and Macaulay Bond have linked up well earlier in the season in that fashion. So maybe that's a strategy that he might try. Piggott is obviously an option that's there or thereabouts, and you saw him at Fleetwood, and he was decent in that game. But yeah, there's no, as always, it's these positions at the front that we're always speculating on, and typically McKenna springs a little bit of a surprise. But I'd expect Selena to play. I'd expect
He
Chaplin
talked
to
Selena up
play.
this week, didn't he? Yeah, so Selena's been spoken up today. Chaplin was probably man of the match, wasn't he, against Portsmouth? I thought he played well. He was buzzing around everywhere and getting involved. So those two, I would think, would play, and then it'll be a case of who's the central one.
We shall see. The
and
big
then Morley,
question,
I guess, So it sounds like it's exactly the same as a week ago. It sounds like he's not trained. He was out on the grass today, wasn't he? So he's not trained. Will he train tomorrow? And will he start? I mean, even in those first 8-9 minutes against Portsmouth, you could tell he was it was very heavily strapped, wasn't it? And he wasn't moving around that freely. So how do you look at it? Is it too much of a risk to potentially start him, maybe lose him for games later down the line, or do you think we've got to win this game? They've got such a strong central midfield, therefore we've got to have our best players out on the pitch. So I don't know, to be honest with you. I guess if there's any doubts, they probably won't risk it because it hampered us last week by the fact we'd had to make 2 subs by half time. I guess that will come into their thinking, and if he doesn't, I'm assuming Backinson will definitely be one. Lee Evans is still out injured, so Tom Carroll kind of grew into the game a bit last weekend, I thought. Will he get a start? El Mazzouni's got a knock. It's an area of the pitch where's John Nolan? Why did we let John Nolan go? Boo, bring him back. It's suddenly an area of the pitch where we're struggling a bit, aren't we?
Yeah, and Idris El Mazzouni, we're not sure the story there.
No, he had a knock, they said. Carroll was sick and only made the bench on Saturday morning. So maybe if he's had a full week of training, he could be the one to look to come in alongside Backinson. But given the strength of Brannigan and Kane in their midfield, I don't think it's a game for dropping Selena back alongside Backinson. I think you need 2 combative midfielders in there who are going to snap away and look to break up play and disrupt their rhythm. And ideally, Morsey will start, but I guess we don't. It's a big risk.
And McKenna has spoken very positively about us imposing ourselves on Oxford. I'll get your prediction for this match in a second, but give me a sense of how you think this one will play out, and whether the question that we asked right at the start: will Oxford go for it? Will Ipswich go for it? Will we have a 3-2, or is it going to be shut down central and it will be another 0-0, which, as we said, is the typical scoreline when we play in League One at the moment?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a 0-0. I think it'll be a draw for what it's worth. I'm going for a 1-1 draw because they score tons of goals. We don't concede many, and I guess hopefully we've got a goal in us. I'd be surprised if we had the same dark arts and S-housery that we had at Portman Road. I'd be amazed if they did that in front of their own fans at this stage of the season, because they'll still have designs on possibly gate crashing the second place position, won't they? They'll for them their playoffs, like you said, are a guarantee almost. So I'd be surprised if we see that. I guess 2 heavily short passing possession sides, there's always a fear you might cancel each other out. So I'd be surprised if it's a rip roarer. I'm going for a 1-1 and a pretty close game, as they have been ever since we've come down and played against them.
Yeah, I think you're probably right with that prediction. However, I'm going to predict a 3-2, but I'm not going to say who to.
You think it'll be a rip roar?
I just think they'll go for it.
We'll concede 2 goals or 3 goals.
Yeah, I just think at this point in the season, what's the point in holding back? Do you know what I mean? But I do think.
But we don't hold back, do we? Wolfen's making his 100th appearance, and I wouldn't say they hold back. Donasian gets up in support of Burns, and I just think we look so solid. Like, I couldn't see us conceding 2, surely, or 3.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm kind of that. What I've given you is kind of a bold, kind of fun extra prediction. I think it will be a 1-1, as you say, but I quite like the idea of a 3-2. And if there is going to be a game where there's going to be 5 goals in it, it's going to be away at Oxford, who score for fun at home and could score from anywhere on the pitch. And maybe it's a game for Selena to finally ping one from 30 yards. We've had the lob, haven't we, against Crewe? So maybe it's time for him to repeat what he did at Leeds and QPR stuff. So that's my logic. So we shall see. But worth mentioning, of course, that the guys on the Flagship show will be back to talk about that game, win, lose or draw, available Monday morning. it will be Mikey, Dave, and Joe. Worth did a bit of housekeeping, a bit of a different format this week. We've not had time to do a proper sliding doors prep. That's my fault. Though it's not any conspiracy theory because I won last week, so
Yeah, okay.
it's not as if I'm trying to go out on a on top, because we haven't even put the league table up. So sliding doors will be back. We'll also
Can I say mine and I can win the vote automatically then?
By default, no. I've got something in my back pocket that I just need more time to think about. So sliding doors will be back one way or the other next
sounds
week.
Mysterious. Okay.
But lots of bits and pieces going on with the pod, which kind of explains my lack of preparation. So yeah, we talked about the flagship show that will be out on podcast audio as at the usual time. We're currently looking into what happens on YouTube because every time I kind of set the YouTube video to go out at 7 a.m., it seems a bit weird. And we do this premiere thing where you effectively have to watch the video through. You can rewind what's been played so far, but you can't skip ahead to what's to come. So you have to wait till the show's done to be able to see it. And 7 a.m. just seems a bit crazy to put videos out. So the hope in the long term is that we can put stuff out earlier than Monday morning. But podcast audio will say the same. YouTube, we're just experimenting. We did a tweet about this. So this show will have been out on podcast audio, and then the video came out at midday. So we're giving it a go. Give us your feedback at Blue Monday ITFC if we've done something that you fundamentally disagree with, or if you think we can do it better. Happy to take that feedback. The other thing to draw your attention to as well, we mentioned the ITFC Women interview. That's still available, and hopefully lots of insights for folk who are familiar or not with that team and their season so far. All the information you need at bluemonday.itfc.co.uk for all of our shows, all of our video feed, podcast feed, socials, all that fun stuff. But hopefully Friday during the day we'll add an additional way to interact with us. Probably the most interactive way that you can interact with us, if I haven't used that word too much. I'm not going to say too much now because it's just being finalized, but another option to get involved with us, which will soon become clear. So very excited about that. More information.
We're not going on OnlyFans, are we?
We are not going. Wow, brilliant. No. You can do whatever you want, Seb, but yeah, we are not doing that. I don't know. Where did that come from?
Don't know. Just thought of it.
Brilliant. Off the top of your head. Good. You make your own conclusions on that one, folks. So yes, plenty going on Blue Monday. Lots more exciting stuff to happen. And we hope to have another interview coming up soon as well. But again, don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So plenty going on. bluemonday.itfc.co.uk, at bluemonday.itfc on Twitter, and that is your lot. So I will say thank you, everyone, if you've made it this far. Thank you for joining us, and I will hand over to Seb for the final word. 2 big games this weekend, Seb. Lots of excitement. Send us out with positivity and energy.
2 absolutely massive games. Have a great time, everyone, going to the Kassam on Saturday. Huge game for the men's side. And then if you're not at the Gold Star,
just worth adding, if you've still got time, don't forget to book your table at TGI Fridays in the entertainment complex at Oxford. Otherwise, it gets a bit of a free for all there. I've got history there, so there's some citizens' advice for you. Sorry, Seb, you were saying.
Have a great time, everyone, going to Oxford. Don't have any food meltdowns pre-match, as a certain host of this podcast may have done in the past. And if you're not at the Gold Star on Sunday, make sure you're in front of the telly, BBC One, red button, 12:30 to cheer on the girls in the FA Cup quarterfinals. A great weekend for both sides. Best to both sides, and come on, you Blues.